It's the morning after the all-English Brits banged up abroad Europa League final, and as a closet gooner, which we are, aren't we, Gonzo? As a closet gooner, it's a little bit painful to say these words, but you've got to give congratulations to Tottenham, to the Spurs, Yid Army, for winning that trophy. Yeah, it's been a long wait, right? All you Tottenham fans. Jack, if you're out there watching, hopefully you can drop a comment because it's got your name on it, that comment section down below. You and all Tottenham fans. It's been a long wait, right? You've been waiting since, what, 2008? Juan Ramos was the last manager in charge, last time he won a major trophy. Yeah, we can't ignore it. Let's crack on then, shall we? Yeah, there's your official post. Europa League champions 2025. Now, seen a few videos. Well, I've seen a lot of videos actually, and the consensus is it was a terrible final. It was a woeful final. I disagree with that. Again, let's just set an expectation. What did you expect? What did you expect from two sides that are 16th and 17th respectively in the Premier League, right? Who just cannot defend. And again, there's an alarming stat that I unearthed yesterday about Manchester United that, and I had to check it myself, that they haven't, in the Premier League, they haven't managed to win back-to-back games all season. I'm like, that can't be true. And I looked through it, and sure enough, yeah, they went on some runs where they won in the Premier League, then they would win 2 games back-to-back in the Europa League, because of international breaks or just because of the way the fixtures fell, and then straight back in the Premier League and it was an L, and then it'd be another L. December was horrible, by the way, for Manchester United. I don't want to keep bringing this up. I don't like shit on any team, to be honest. I really don't. But December was pretty woeful for Manchester United. Yeah, I think there was 4 or 5 losses in all competitions, including 2-0 to Arsenal. Yeah. So yeah, an alarming stat. I mean, there's no surprise then that you've ended up where you were. So what did you expect from the final? Again, we did make a prediction. We did make a prediction that there were going to be goals in it, but I'm kicking myself. I really am. I'm kicking myself because I said on that preview video, on that prediction video, it's either going to be 1-0 or it was going to be a goal fest. But even then, if I'd have gone with 1-0, I'd have gone 1-0 to Manchester United because it felt like enough of that squad have been to major finals in their careers as individual players and as a collective at Manchester United. There would have been enough experience in that. Plus, Tottenham were down 3 or 4 major players. No James Maddison, no Kulusevski. Who else was out injured? Oh, I don't know. Like it's not my. Again, disclaimer, right? And I want to put this out there. Neither of these are my teams. Yes, I'm aware the Premier League is on because I live in the UK, but the heart and what we do for this channel is we follow the Bundesliga. So again, that's my disclaimer that I'm not shitting on these teams. I don't know them intimately. They're not my clubs, right? It's not, like I grew up in an era where Manchester United were winning everything, literally everything. I'm nearly 44. So you go back to that period from the mid-90s, that first Premier League trophy as it was rebranded. That Premier League Steve Bruce lifts, and then they go to Wembley and smash Chelsea 4-0 when the FA Cup, do the double, and then it's just red. And of course there's the famous 99, and I'm not talking about the ice cream. I'm about the final, which for moments last night when the clock ticked past 90 and it was a corner, I was thinking, this is the time. If there's ever a time for Ruben Amorim's team to step up and just encapsulate, embody, channel that spirit of that 99 final, of that 99 treble winning team, it was that corner, and it wasn't to be, was it? It just wasn't to be. Anyway, that's the disclaimer done. So let's get into the final then. Again, this was the lineups. Tottenham will deal with first. Vicario, the Italian, in goal. It was it was a 4-2-3-1. it was a 4-3-3, right? And I only call that out because, and I was thinking at the time, tactically, that is a savvy move from Big Ange, because he's down some of his best players, right? Dragusin, Bergvall, Maddison, Kulishevsky. That's 4 players. They all came to me in the end. 4 players he was down with. So what do? You're up against a Manchester United team that, again, they're no better than Tottenham this season, by the way. And again, this season, I said this in the preview video, trying to predict this game, it's like going to a casino. Stick it all on red. Literally, stick it all on red, spin that wheel, see what happens. Because the form usually goes out the window. 2 teams in any final, any league around the world, 2 teams, there's always going to be a lot of tension, right? The players going to be nervous. Michael from Michael Talks made a great point that, like, if you measured XP and the PB in pressure, then it'd have been like at DEFCON levels, right? So, again, I'm saying I'm not surprised that the quality of the football was subpar for a lot of you out there, and the fact there was only 1 goal, again, it's a pressure situation. Let's call that out as well. 2 managers having 2 dreadful seasons, one of which, g'day, who sounds a little bit between a rough, Russell Crowe the morning after meets Batman, right? Big Ange, he was under a lot of fucking pressure. He made that prophecy, right? And only win things in my second year. Don't worry, lads, I've got this covered. That turned out to be true, didn't it? And we'll come on to that later. So Big Ange, feasibly, if he'd have lost this, he'd have been out the door. Similar for Ruben Amorim. Don't quite think he'll be fired just yet, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe would have to write another cheque, wouldn't he, Serge Gnabry style, and pay him off, right? And that's they haven't got the ready, have they? Manchester United, fucking believable, like as unbelievable as that is. They haven't got the money, apparently. So they're either going to sack him. So, anyway, the point is, a lot of tension, a lot of XP, a lot of pressure. Thanks for that. Go and check out Michael Talks, by the way. He's a diehard Liverpool fan. We'll let him off for that. But his content and his perspective, I thought was bang on. That was a 4-3-3. Tactical genius that is Ange, because he knew that he was down key players. And they had a game plan, right? And that game plan was obviously try and get a goal and sit back and defend and see what happens. Or if they don't get a goal, we'll just stay in the game. We'll take it to extra time. We could probably win on penalties because we can put trust in the players that we've got. And then you're expecting someone like Onana to step up, right? So there's a lot of pressure on the 2 goalkeepers, both suspect going into this final, along with the defences. But we'll deal with the Tottenham one first. So Vicario in goal. Let's agree it was a back 4. Pedro Porro, he's been linked with FC Bayern Munich. And again, there's a link in the description down below to a video that we did speculating who could come in at right back for Bayern Munich. Pedro Porro would be a great option between the likes of Pedro Porro and, is it Felix Vasquez or somebody Vasquez, whoever Vasquez at Real Madrid. Between the 2 of them, they're both responsible for 11 assists this season, right? So what I'm trying to say is Pedro Porro, with his 6 assists, he's the best performing right back for assists throughout the entire 5-6 major leagues in Europe, right? So go and check out that video. Anyway, Pedro Porro at right back, Destiny Undoggy, the Italian, at left back. That back 2, absolute rocks. Mickey van der Ven, he's a bit mental, isn't he? But we'll let him off. He's fast as fuck now, isn't he? He's Danny Da Costa from Mainz. Danny Da Costa, fast as fuck. Mickey van der Ven on the left of the centre-back pairing, next to Guti Romero, who was... I mean, he's a World Cup winner, right? Like it or hate it, right? Love it or hate it. Guti Romero won the World Cup with Argentina. So he's used to scrapping, he's used to being resilient, he's used to stepping up at big moments. And he did in this game, right? As we'll find out soon. And then I think it was a midfield 3. It was Bentancur, it was Basuma, he used Basuma and Papa Sarr. That 3 managed to negate the Manchester United attack. We'll come on to that in a second. And then there was this... I'd say it was an attacking 3. Richarlison, ex-Everton on the left, the Brazilian. Brennan Johnson, Nottingham Forest, didn't he? Die-hard Forest fan. He was on the right. And then you had Dominic Solanke, 60 million euro Dominic Solanke up front. So that's Tottenham, okay? Then we'll take a look at Manchester United, Manchester Global, the Red Devils. Anana, ooh, Anana, ooh, Anana in goal. This is where it gets interesting, right? And I was looking into the facts on this. So, Ruben Amorim came from Sporting Club de Portugal, where Victor Gyökeres plays. And again, there's a transfer in there every day. He's coming to Arsenal, he's coming to Arsenal, he's coming to Arsenal. 39 goals, by the way, in the League of Portugal, which is just in fucking insane. Didn't really turn up in the Champions League, but anyway, right? So, Amorim at Club de Portugal, Sporting Club de Portugal, during his time there, which was what, 2.5, maybe 3 years, in that period of time, he just played 3-4-3, like constantly. That was his formation, 3-4-3. And it did win him 2 championships, 2 Liga Portugals, 2 League Cups, and then he got to the final of the Taça de Portugal, which is their actual cup. A bit like the DFB Pokal in Germany or the FA Cup in England, right? So it sort of worked, you know. But then in that last season, and I was watching somebody else who's the content creator, he's funky, he's like one of these New York Americans that are really into football. Anyway, I'll put a link in the description down below. I'll just put it as an overlay. Anyway, his comment was he follows Liga Portugal, him and his brother, him and his best mate. And apparently in the Super Cup, which has got a gorgeous name, by the way, in Portugal, he came up against Porto and he was losing and he changed his formation from a 3-4-3 to go 4 at the back and it didn't work, right? And apparently that made him nervous that he never went back. He never tried that formation again. He reverted back to his 3-4-3. And to be fair, he won the first 11 games of the last season it was at Sporting Club de Portugal. His last season, 11 games in a row, couple of big wins in the Champions League too, and then Manchester United come calling. So what I'm trying to say, he has won trophies, a bit like Erik ten Hag in the Eredivisie, and actually in the Premier League for Manchester United. He's won trophies, but he's rigid on this 3-4-3, and it's not worked, has it, in Manchester United for whatever reason? Is it because he hasn't got the personnel? And that's a nice segue back into here. Luke Shaw on the left hand side of that back three. I get Harry Maguire, Harry McNugget, a lot of experience in major finals for England as well as Manchester United and Hull City, I would say, because that was 11 years ago, the final of the FA Cup. Who beat him that day? That's a bit awkward to say who when we sat in front of a Hull City scarf and we're season ticket holders. Yeah, that was an awkward day, going 2-0 down quite early on and looking at the guy next to me going, is this real? Like, is this actually happening? Anyway, Santi Cazorla, Aaron Ramsey, Sonego, and the rest is history. Anyway, Lenny Yoro, yeah, prospect, fast. But Luke Shaw, I mean, what other options did he have? He could have played Victor Lindelof. I love that Swedish guy. Could have played Lindelof. Yeah, but chose not to. Just a slightly bizarre decision. Okay, fair enough. That midfield four then. Patrick Dorgu from Lecce. I thought he had a really good game, actually, as did Mazraoui. And again, it blows my mind as to why Bayern Munich let him go. Was it 16, maybe 17, 18 million euro? Whatever. I think it was 8. I think it was 16. Anyway, they let him go. And all right, yes, again, Vincent Kompany's come in. Congratulations. In Thomas Muller's last season, he lifts the Meisterschale at his first go with a squad that he's inherited, minus Mazraoui, right? But it's just mad that they've ended up in a position where they're cycling through options. They're playing utility players. They're playing King Conrad Lima, who was a midfielder at right back, when you had one. Look, again, this isn't my club. I know there are Manchester United fans out there that watch these videos, and that's great. And please, while you're at it, please find it in your heart Well, think about it, but don't think too long. Smash that like button, click that subscribe, and then tell your friends, tell your other Man United friends to come in, right? Tell your classmates, your workmates, your family, when you're out and about and you're in with a shout. Bring people down, because we'll look after them here. It's a safe space. Real men cry too. We'll look after everyone. Anyway, bring your other Manchester United friends in. But you'll probably, hopefully you'll agree with me that midfield four was was funky. Again, Fernandes, right? And I had to go back over the last the last 20 games to see where Bruno Fernandes has been played. To me, it seemed he was playing too deep. He's played alongside Casemiro, who, to his credit, has gone through a renaissance in this Europa League especially. And again, coming into this final, Manchester United were unbeaten. Tottenham had lost a couple of games, but they still managed to only allow 4 goals during the knockout phase. So credit to Tottenham. Again, they go for the attack. It's an exciting brand of football, but they ship goals at the back because they play a high press and a high line. But when you lose the ball, you're vulnerable at the back. Even despite the fact you've got fast as fuck Mickey van der Ven, you're gonna let in a lot of goals, and that's reflected by the fact that they've got a +2 goal difference in the Premier League this season. Anyway, it felt like Manchester United's midfield was being overrun. Credit where it's due to Big Ange, g'day, for packing that midfield. He put 3 in there, right? 2 destroyers in Basuma and Sarr, and then Bentancur for a bit of creativity. And it worked, right? Absolutely nullified that midfield. Fernandes, for me, playing a bit too deep. And then Mason Mount alongside Diallo, Ahmad, with Rasmus up front. Again, it's not my club. So don't, again, these are just my views, right? This is just my reaction to a game that I enjoyed. I thought it was an entertaining final. I thought, not quite a basketball game, but it was 2 teams that have clearly come into this going, right, forget the Premier League. It is, well, now that obviously we know what the result was, it is the worst Manchester United season of the modern era, right? I mean, obviously they got relegated, right? I mean, Dennis Law, playing for Manchester City, sent Manchester United down to the old second division, which for you young'uns out there, obviously is the EFL Championship. But that was what? That was in the 80s. That was probably the darkest moment in Manchester United's history, apart from the Munich air crash where you lost all your superstars, right? Okay, again, we'll take a moment's silence as the dog next door, dogs bark like fuck. That was back then. That was in the 50s, right? 1958. I think it was 1984, I believe, when that Dennis Law backheel sent Manchester United down. But in the modern era, the Premier League era, this is by far the worst season they've ever had. But who am I to judge, right? I'm just reflecting upon what I saw. And it strikes me that Mason Mount didn't really get in the game. I mean, he played fantastic against Atletico, right? In those 2 semi-finals. The red card probably helped him in that first game. In the second game, he was an absolute beast. It felt like that's where Bruno should have been playing, and Ugarte should have come in, because again, you needed a destroyer in that midfield, someone to be feisty, almost like a Gattuso. Some day may be good, sometimes maybe shit. You needed someone like a Gattuso to come out and rile the opposition, put the tackles in, win the ball, lay it off to a Casemiro, lay it off to a Fernandes, and then start your attacks. And that didn't happen, right? Ahmad was brilliant in that first half, lots of jinking runs. I think Ali McCoy said it on the commentary again, because we watched it on Discovery, which is, part of the TNT. What was TNT? No, TNT Sports, but it's part of the Discovery Channel. You get your we get a subscription that way in the UK. Anyway, Ali McCoy's former Rangers legend and Scotland forward said, "We love to see right wingers, or just wingers in general, attacking their fullbacks." And he was doing brilliant in that first half. Disappeared in the second half, to be fair. And Rasmus, again, I watched somebody else's video, Nick, who's, again, I think he's also another New Yorker. A lot of New Yorkians. A lot of guys in New York that love soccer, that love football, which is fucking... We'll clap that in. A bit like Dishy Danny and Big Jim from Always Buying Chelsea, right? Well, the shout out to you, Jim. that you're a Chelsea fan. Right? It's just great to see Americans talking about football. It is. It's brilliant. Anyway, his point was Højlund doesn't fit that system. It was echoed by Michael Talk's football as well. I know he didn't get many touches, did he? If you're blaming the system, then you've got to put some accountability on Ruben Amorim. And as we know, yeah, that was the result, right? It was scrappy. It was 1-0. It was a goal from Brennan Johnson. Technically, it looked like an own goal from Luke Shaw. And again, Luke Shaw's been there for, 10 years? He looks, honestly, and I'm not an athlete, God, every bone in my body seems to ache and needs stretching out, needs some sort of chiropractic work from the moment I wake up in the morning. I'm not an athlete. Luke Shaw's an athlete. Yeah, he struggled a bit with his weight, but he's kept at it. His race is run, though. He was at fault for that goal. I think Harry Maguire, if you watch it back on Ask Jeeves, you watch a highlight clip on Bing, or you go and recreate it with your friends down the park, you'll see that Harry Maguire seems to just hold back because he thinks his keeper's got it, which is probably his first mistake, and he's not. And Brennan Johnson does what somebody of his age as a winger should do: attack the space. Got in behind his man Luke Shaw. It looks like it comes off Luke Shaw. Again, if you watch Mark Goldbridge as well, which is always quality entertainment, right? Whether the guy plays up on that autism, whether he even knows he's got autism, I don't know. But yeah, he was like, he would rather have a dildo in goal because at least that would move. His point was that Onana seemed to be stood there fixed like concrete and just sort of flapped at it to try and keep it out. I think that's harsh. If that happens in real time as a former goalkeeper, former member of the Goalkeepers Union, there's not a lot you can do. You're just relying on muscle memory of those drills of reacting. But you either got that reaction ability, that trait, or you haven't, right? You'd like to think that a man that went to the Champions League final with Inter Milan and previously played for Ajax in finals as well would have that ability. But again, not to be, right? So scrappy goal in what some people regard as a scrappy final. I felt it was genuinely entertaining. I genuinely felt this final was entertaining. And if we look at some of the stats, wow. I mean, those of you out there that watch all sorts of different football and maybe you've gone down the rabbit hole like I have, there's a series called Under the Cosh. It's 2 ex-pros and a little guy from Bolton that drag in ex-professionals, and they talk about their careers as footballers, the highs, the lows, the mischief, the money wasted, like the famous George Best quote, the money squandered. And they dragged in, I can't remember the guy's name. He played for Celtic anyway, and he was part of a Celtic team that played in the Champions League that went all the way to the Camp Nou, to the new camp, and beat Barcelona 1-0. And they did that with an 11% possession. I'll say that again. 11% possession. Again, here look, Spurs, 27% possession. It was a game plan that Big Ange he came with, and it worked, right? Catch him on a break. Second half, I don't think they even came out of the changing room, did they? I don't think they went past the halfway line because they didn't need to, because they got the goal and they needed it. They knew that they were playing to the personnel within that system of, well, we can pack that midfield and we can catch him out if we need to by going down the channels, because Manchester United only play 3 in the middle and their wing-backs will be caught out because they're chasing the game. So, yeah, you've got to give credit where it's due to Big Ange for winning a game with only 27% possession and only 3 shots on goal versus 16 and 1 on target, which was the goal that you ended up scoring. Just quite an incredible game, really. There's the magic quote, innit? There's G'day, told you. There's Big Ange. Look, I usually win in my second season, and he did. We'll get the ticker tape coming down for that one. Congratulations to Big Ange. He dealt with injuries, pressure, and a complete rebuild, and he still managed to deliver silverware. Whether or not Daniel Levy kicks him out or not, doesn't matter. He can go with his head held high, probably some nice compensation, and he'll go on somewhere else and win with them. Serial winner in his native Australia, in Japan in the J-League. He absolutely tore up the Scottish Premier League with Celtic, 5 trophies in 3 seasons, including just winning back-to-back Scottish Premier Leagues, domestic championships. Yeah, serial winner, this guy. And then actually, you have to contrast that with the scenes for Manchester United. Look, this is their official. So we've gone, there's your Tottenham, there's the scenes. There's Heung-min Song lifting the trophy. They are winners. There's Richarlison. There's Big Ange, a man of his word. Absolutely a man of his word. But then you contrast that with Manchester United, look. It hurts now, but this club's history speaks for itself. There's Casemiro looking forlorn. There's Bruno Fernandes. There's Xerxes. There's Harry Maguire. This was interesting, by the way. Garnacho, here's his comment. Until the final, I played every round helping the team. Then the final arrives and I played 20 minutes. I don't know why. The final of the season, the whole situation of the club. I will try to enjoy this summer and then we'll see what happens. Now with those eyes, we've seen that on dog emojis, haven't we? We've seen that on Instagram. That is a quote from a man that sounds like he's off. Anyway, it did feel harsh because when he came on in those 20 minutes, he added some spark, didn't he? Some drive, some energy, some resistance. He got forward. He had that shot that Vicario pushed around the post, which led to a corner. So he made a difference. So again, you've got to put the questions to Ruben Amorim about his tactics, his in-game management, and the rigidity of his system. This 3-4-3. It might have worked in Portugal, where yes, he won back-to-back. Actually, he didn't win back-to-back, did he? Sorry, he won 2 Liga Portugals in 3 years, but he won back-to-back trophies like cups. It's not really working in the Premier League, is it? And I just thought it'd be remiss of me not to remind everybody that we are a Bundesliga channel when all's said and done. And here's the Adler, here's the Eagles, here's Attila, SGE. They won it in 2022 in that final on penalties, where Kevin Trapp was the hero when they beat Rangers. Gio Van Bronckhorst, ex-Arsenal legend, didn't he, Gonzo? Yeah, they beat Rangers on penalty. I believe it was Bore, who's one of the strikers that ends up going out on loan to Werder Bremen, and we've played with him in our FM24 saves. Yeah, just signing out then. Again, Spurs have just won it with Big Ange. But then the Eagles of Frankfurt, they won it in 22. What did you think of the final then? What did you think? And what about Tottenham breaking that record? Yeah, not won a trophy since 2008 under Juan de Ramos. They joined the list of, I believe it's 6 teams that have won the UEFA Cup or the Europa League 3 times or more. Serial winners Sevilla have won it 7 times. An old good evening. Old Dracula, you're right, Emery, won it 3 times in a row with Sevilla, and also won it for Villarreal against Manchester United. 11-10 on penalties in 2021. So, yeah, congratulations to Tottenham for joining that list of clubs that have now won that trophy 3 times or more. What did you think of it? What was your view on the final? Who was your player of the match? That's a tough one. I would probably go Mickey van der Ven, not only for that spectacular goal line clearance, but the fact that him and Guti Romero kept Manchester United quiet. And actually, Pedro Porro at right back, who should well be in the run-in for a right back slot at FC Bayern Munich. Those 3, outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. And again, Big Ange is probably out of the 2 managers. Well, whether or not he stays, whether or not Daniel Levy goes, thanks very much, but see you later. You know, it was a tactical masterclass. Down 4 key players, put 3 in that midfield, kept Man United quiet, got the goal on the break because Bruno Fernandes tries to do a hero ball. They get caught out. It's a scrappy goal. Yeah, I thought it was a really entertaining final. What did you think? There's a comment section down there with your name written all over it. And I think we'll wrap up there. So, hope you enjoyed that. Have a think about liking this video, but don't think too long. In fact, fuck it. Smash that like button. Also, use that second finger as part of your double pivot. Smash that subscribe, because then you'll know when future videos are coming out. And of course, spread the word, please. Spread the word. Tell your classmates, your workmates, your mates in general, your family, while you're out and about and in with a shout. Let people know. Bring them this way. Send them over here. We're growing. We're on the race to 100 subscribers. We're currently 79, so we're in a great place. We just need that bit of a push to get to 100 before the summer. So please help us do that. Again, it's a safe space. Everyone's welcome here. Real men cry too. Manchester United fans, well, you were crying at full time and you're probably crying until the rebuild happens. Tears of joy, though, for Tottenham Hotspur fans, for Spurs, for the Youth Army. Congratulations to them. We'll leave it there. Auf Wiedersehen. Ciao, 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 ciao.